Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BJA podcast. I am one of your hosts, Joe748, and with me is SD1, who I would bet a decent amount that he's living the dream right now.
Always living the dream with you, Joe. Well done.
Knew it. Cash in that money. We got a mailbag Q&A podcast for you guys. Had a couple comments that some people enjoyed it last time, so we're going to continue with this. If you don't enjoy it, I am sorry. Hopefully you'll enjoy the next one a little bit more. Before we get into the questions, I wanted to tell everybody that we have some spots still open for our June 7th through 8th boot camp. Boot camp is always in Las Vegas. It's always a good time.
Always a good time.
You learn something. Yeah, you learn a ton. I've been helping out at these things for years, and the last boot camp we went to, there was some new things that I picked up on that I've never heard anywhere else before. So what do you think is the most valuable part of going to the boot camp if you already kind of know how to count?
Looking back on my personal experience, the biggest thing is there were so many things that I didn't know. I tested out there, which I was really proud of with Colin, but the direct interaction with the pros, my conversation with you and Colin going through what I should be doing in terms of rated or not rated with my bankroll size that I started, that piece alone in terms of my AP career and that decision you guys helped me make, untold amount of EV as a result of that 1 5-minute conversation that I had.
Having all the attendees there and they're asking questions that you either didn't think about or to kind of jumpstarts you to think about some other thing that you forgot. Like that's a really awesome part is when we're all in the room together and we're all like coming up with these questions and angles. And
yeah, I mean, I could almost give your talk to now. I've heard it so many times and sat in on it, and it's so good. But I still, the occasional boot camp, come up with a question that I shout out to you that I never thought of before. It's kind of crazy.
We're going to have food. We're going to have
good times.
Colin's jokes.
We're
going to, yeah, just like a room full of people who are just as sick and obsessed with Blackjack as you are and actually want to listen to you talk about Blackjack and card count.
You're training, and you have this focus, and you don't get to interact except online with people that are doing the same thing. And when you come into a room with a bunch of people that are doing the same thing, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, for me personally, the boot camps are, definitely the big highlights of my year, going to Vegas and being able to see all the pros, then all the attendees and meet them and hear their story. It's a really awesome time for us too, helping out.
Same.
So yeah, hope to see you there. If you guys want to sign up for the June 7th through 8th boot camp, just go to blackjackapprenticeship.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's get into these questions.
All right, let her rip.
How much do you use betting camouflage, like discussed in Don Schlesinger's book and Ian Anderson's book? I always have a hard time saying his last name. Do you do those advanced camouflage techniques?
There's a couple that I think have merit, but Schlesinger's and Anderson's book, like The Ultimate Gambit and all that stuff, like that was a while ago, number one. Number two, and I think Colin's talked about this before too, it's just not worth it. You're giving up so much EV, and then he did it and he still got backed off. But I think there are some things that have merit to do on a rare occasion to present yourself as something you're not, a gambler. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's same answer as me. The average conditions in the country right now, it's probably not worth doing a lot of those techniques in that book. Have you ever used someone else's player's card to give the appearance that you're playing rated?
Yes.
How did you get away with that if they have? The only reason I haven't done it is because I haven't been sure which places show the driver's license when the pit scans it in at the podium. So how do you know if that picture pops up?
I knew at this place because the way the pit is laid out, the screens are very exposed. Like they're in the middle, and I guess for the round of pits, the pit boss would be like standing kind of perpendicular, so you'd be staring at his shoulder, so you could see screens. This is one I talked about when a long time ago on my Gambling with an Edge podcast, and it'll be fun to talk about again because your boy Ping Pong had a friend, because he's got a lot of homies, who graciously allowed me to use a player's card in his name. I had been to this place before. I had played rated, not rated. I'd never been backed off. But I heard that it was getting a bit more sweaty, and I was like, all right, let me just try this. So I go there, start playing. I get like an hour and a half in. I think I don't remember. Don't quote me on this if I said a different number back in the day. I think it was like $2,000, 2,500. That's it. And this is when the pit boss came up and said, hit the dusty trail to me. That was his back off line. Hit the dusty trail. And I got surrounded by like 9 security guys at the cage and then harassed. And they told me I committed fraud because they knew that wasn't me. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. That's me. And they said, well, you're not 24 years old.
Ouch.
Damn it. But also I'm like, damn it, Ping Pong. Why'd you give me a kid's ID or a card? So I just played it off and was just like, wow, I don't know who entered the information, but they really screwed up. But yeah, that's me. And then when they kept pressing the fraud thing, I was just like, listen, you can say whatever you want. One thing I know beyond a shadow of a doubt is I have not committed any kind of fraud at all. You may not like it or like what I do, but I didn't commit fraud. And they said, get out. And that's when I turned around and said, who's not allowed to come back again? Which was not advisable.
It does work well. It's just the downside is sometimes they tend to react more harshly if they figure out that you're using a player's card that's not your own. And the times when it does step into that illegal territory is if you used a fake ID to get the player's card. And then even worse than that is if you're using the player's card in the alias, you get CTR'd, and then you write down the name of the player's card, but then you have your own social. That's just going to be really bad for you. It's going to be a felony at that point. So
really bad. 9 security guards, guys. They shut down every cash out window and were pissing off the ploppies that were not allowed to cash out because they so overreacted to the fact that I used somebody else's. That being said, it's not like I'm opposed to it. You just got to know.
Nothing illegal about just using someone else's player's card at the table.
What do you do if another card counter sits at your table?
So I'm playing, and then another card counter comes over and sits. The bets are going up and down the same way. You look at each other, and it's just like you kind of read each other's minds. You know that this is going to be an issue. The standard etiquette, right, is like if you jump into someone else's table, it's kind of like up to you to kind of move on to the next table or change your seating. What is your take on that?
If they had the seat, they were there first. If I'm in a positive count, I finish that shoe, but then I get up and I walk. I don't know if do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's kind of like the non-written rule, that's it's just like good AP etiquette, but also it's just so not worth it to have both of you at the same table. It just brings on way too much suspicion.
So what do you do if you both sat at the same table at the same time?
Ooh, that's hard. I would probably just proactively leave at that point because I don't want the extra heat on me.
Same.
Loudon was telling me a story. He was playing Blackjack like a few days ago, and he was playing for about an hour. They came to back him off, and then they backed off the random guy who was sitting next to him at the table just because, the ploppy kind of had this false confidence because Loudon was betting big. So then the ploppy just was kind of like riding off of that a little bit and kind of betting a little bit bigger than he usually was. So they both got backed off, and then the ploppy was just like, yeah, I don't know. I guess they're just scared of people winning here, Totally wasn't a counter, just like got caught in the crossfire. But that's
yeah.
So if that happens to like a ploppy, it's definitely going to happen to 2 counters who don't know each other.
100%. I sat down early in my career at a place and played right next to a counter because it was really early on and we knew it wasn't going to last long anyway, and played right next to him, and it was really funny. I think somebody else, other pit bosses have said this to other players when they've been just messing around, but he was just like, you guys know you just shouldn't do this at the same table. Like, it makes it really obvious.
If you're backed off and you're backed off of like a chain like MGM or Caesars, are you done for the whole chain? Or is it just that geographical area?
This is going to be a slightly nuanced answer because you cannot be backed off from a brick and mortar establishment. One, you have never stepped foot in. And two, that has not like backed you off or trespassed you. That doesn't work. Most of these casinos aren't even owned by the casino, right? They use like a lease back program. A separate entity owns the building. They may or may not own that other company too, but then they lease it back. Now, that being said, if MGM says you are not welcome at any MGM property, blah, 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 and you go to another MGM property, you are most likely, specifically with MGM, actually going to get backed off really fast because they're really good at that. Penn's getting better at it too, unfortunately. Penn used to be so disorganized, and they're more organized now.
For those who don't know, which casino chains do they own?
Hollywood, Argosy. There's another one that's under them too. An older name that they still use.
LaBerge?
LaBerge is now Penn, yeah.
Some Ameristars, Boomtown.
Ameristar, that's the one. Ameristar, the big names that you see mostly are Ameristar, Hollywood, less Argosies. But then, yeah, Pinnacle sold off LaBerge. They had to.
Margaritaville, but they're doing you a favor by not playing there.
Yeah. I don't know, anything to add to that?
Definitely don't write it off. Like if you're backed off of one particular property in a chain, don't cut yourself off before giving it a chance to play like MGM. Yeah, it is possible they'll pick you off quicker, but it's also possible you are just go to one MGM that's just a lot slower than the other ones for some reason. Or maybe you didn't show your ID when you first got backed off at MGM, so it's going to take longer for them to create a profile for you in the system. So don't just think that, oh, I can never go to an MGM property ever again. Like you would be leaving a lot of money on the table.
Oh, yeah. And the thing about Penn is it's not necessarily like a national thing. Like if LaBerge handles you and then you come to, I don't know, a Hollywood in Missouri, it's not that good. MGM tends to be better like that. But like more of the regional, their local Penns, they're really good at telling each other now than it used to be.
If you're playing and you're a hotel guest, are hotel guests treated differently than a regular run-of-the-mill card counter who's just there for a few hours? No. They don't care. I've had both. I've had one place that, trespassed me and they're like, you have to leave immediately. And then I was like, look, I have a fever right now. I'm sick. Can I just stay the night? I have a hotel here. Can I just stay the night? And then they let me and they said, as soon as you check out, you have to leave. And I was like, okay. And then I've had the flip side where they come to the room and trespass you and you have to pack up your bags and leave immediately, no matter what time of day it is. How about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's no different. Don't play where you stay. That's kind of a not unspoken, spoken rule. Don't play where you stay. If you're in comp somewhere, stay there and play around. Don't play there.
Yeah, and if you do have a bunch of comps and they're just, there's no heat, they're just letting you play, I expect that, you could leave at any moment and you're not going to be able to stay the night for sure.
Yeah, definitely. If you're supposed to only bet when there's a true one, wouldn't that mean never playing the beginning of a shoe?
I guess they're saying the advice was, oh, you only have an edge starting at a true one, so why would you bet any other time? Well, there's plenty of times when betting the minimum, if it's within your bankroll, it's higher EV to play through all the minimums fast by yourself than it is to play at a table with 3 or 4 people, avoiding all negative counts.
Mm-hmm. Also, remember that sometimes a true one isn't advantageous for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're playing heads up, then you have no choice but to play at the beginning of the shoe. Sometimes I like to wait to wong in a little bit. Like if I'm wonging into a 6-deck game and it's only less than a deck has been dealt and it's a true one, I'll wait till a true 2 because I just don't want to be standing behind the table, wong in at a true 1, and then the count drops again, and then I'm sitting at it. It's just awkward. You're kind of committing to being there until it goes really bad. So sometimes I like to wait, especially early on, to wong in. to like a true 2.
I mean, we preach not playing negatives for sure, and wonging being a powerful thing, especially for you lower bankroll people, but it's really can be really great for higher bankroll people too, at least to start the night or the day or whatever you're playing. But it's situational. Wonging is really effective when there are a lot of tables. Wonging is not very effective when there's a table.
Right. Yeah.
So just remember that.
I tend to stack my chips in between shoes to keep track of them. Is this a bad idea? I think they mean stacking their wins or losses in between the shoes, counting up their wins or losses.
Yeah. Doing what Kenny Rogers told you not to do. Never count your money when you're sitting at the table. I don't like this personally. I don't like organization, even though I'm a very organized person because I have to be. It's not in your favor to look like you're exceptionally comfortable in a casino in terms of chip tricks, stacks, etc. Now, do ploppies stack their chips? 100%. Do they count their chips? 100%. I don't care. I want to look like a disorganized mess. So I like chaos in front of me. Constantly checking, I just think sends a signal that I don't want to be sent. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, don't make it easier for them to figure out how much you have in front of you too is the other thing. If you stack it up all nice and neat, then it's super easy for them to verify their work and see how much you're up or down. If you are going to be like counting how much you're up or down with the chips in between the shoes, I would only do it when you're down a lot or something, just to emphasize the fact that you're losing. Anything you can do to emphasize losses is fine. But yeah, also it's just kind of a mentality thing. It's just like, why are you counting how much you're up or down in between every single shoe? It kind of indicates that your heart is not exactly in it for the long term.
Yeah. And I mean, we already have to go through enough pain and seeing every, like, when you're updating records, like it's, I think it's been said, it's like living every single trade in your 401k. People get stressed about checking in on a daily basis. Well, we like micro check stuff. So why are you doing it at the table? You should have some organizational system. You should know how much money you have organized in some way with your cash that it's very easy to see where you're at by the end of the night. Don't do that to yourself, I guess is the message.
For us, it's usually just squeezing our pockets and being like, well, there's nothing in there. And you go to the left pocket, it's like, well, half the stack is gone in that pocket. And then you're like, okay, strap in. Let's get through this.
Yeah. I think I know this strategy question, but to confirm, do you buy insurance on a +3 or better no matter what your hand is?
Yeah, seems like more of a beginner question. When you say +3, remember it's a true 3, not just a running 3. And also that true 3 is for a shoe game. So if you go to our website, there's a bunch of strategy charts there. We have something called the Hit 17 deviation chart, and we have an advanced expanded deviation chart. And that will include the different values for like a double deck game, single deck game. Double deck game is 2.5, true 2.5. Single deck game is true 1.5. And yeah, no matter what your hand is, if you account for every card you see on the table right now as it stands, and then you do your conversion and it's 3 or higher, then you take the insurance.
Yeah, just remember what you're doing. It's gambler logic to think about what your hand is because it has nothing to do with your hand. Insurance is a side bet, no more, no less. It is a bet on whether you think the dealer does or does not have blackjack.
I also don't know any pros that choose not to buy insurance when they're supposed to as a cover move. Do you know anyone who does? I don't know.
No, that is a costly move right there. That is a high EV playing decision, buying insurance when you're supposed to.
Can you speak on demographics? I'm a 57-year-old white male. I kind of want to do it as a semi-retirement vocation. What percentage of people in my demographic actually go on to be pro?
I don't know that I could narrow it down to a specific demographic, but what I will tell you, successful APs, those who actually make money, and a lot of money, is my guess would be like 1%.
Of the people who look into it and try, is that what you mean? Like look into it, practice, and try it?
Yeah. Going pro of that 1%, I mean, I would guess it's lower single digits of that 1% that actually go full-time pro.
Yeah, I don't think it's the age thing as much as it is a just your own personal drive and determination thing. We've seen a bunch of people from boot camp who are in their 20s do really well. We've also seen people who are retired do really well. It's purely just how much do you want to get out there and be at the tables is the deciding factor. And I can't say that the retirees, it's a way less percentage than the younger people. It doesn't seem to be that way. It seems pretty even.
Yeah. How much pain can you take? That's what you got to ask yourself. If you're going to be a pro, how much pain can you take?
And what are you considering pro as your definition for that 1% of people?
Yeah, not pro, skill, whatever. To me, my definition of a pro, well, I guess you could say the definition of a pro is your skill set, knowledge base, attacking the casinos with, there's definitely an element of experience to it as well. And what do you have in your tool belt? But generally speaking, when I think pro now, I think somebody that's full-time. Even though when I was a part-timer, I would have considered myself a professional card counter. Just generically speaking, if you tell me you're a pro, I assume that you're a full-time player. But that's not necessarily true. You can be a pro and be a part-timer too.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to define because you could have the side hustle people who maybe the card counting accounts for like 25% of their income throughout the year, but they're still good enough to be like, they're playing at a pro level. And if they wanted to make 100% of their income through card counting, they would be able to do it. But yeah, it's kind of, we're kind of talking full-time pro, like almost like the majority of your income coming from blackjack is that number we were kind of saying is like the 1% or less than 1%.
Yeah.
I've been practicing at my local, but don't spend tons of time there. I see that the shoe doesn't heat up too often. If you play for a couple hours, how much of that time are you playing with a true 2 or above? One thing is, I would say there's a little bit of like false memory in that statement of like, oh, I never see the shoe heating up that much. It's kind of like the same thing when you look back at your career. Like if you try to remember your career wins or losses where it feels like you've won way less than you actually have won. It's kind of like, oh, it never gets positive. It's, oh, I'm always, always waiting for negatives. Well, it's just our brains kind of forget the times when, how often it does go positive. But I guess the textbook answer is should be around 33%. Is that correct?
It's somewhere around there. If Colin were on, he'd just rattle this off right now, like how often you're in a particular true count. But yeah, it's something like that. And it's going to vary too in the game you're playing. Single, double, 6-deck, 8-deck.
I'm going to ask SD1 this. What are the best ways to handle verbal abuse at the tables, both from the players and the dealers? Let's start with the players. What do you do when someone's just like implying that you're an idiot or you shouldn't have done this or why'd you do that?
Yeah, I tend to have fun with it. Like I try to joke around. I try to turn it into a positive. I try not to be a dick about it because if they're a dick and you're a dick, then you escalate it. I want to make it funny. I want the dealer to laugh about it and be on my side. And conflict is not necessarily, I don't think it's ever going to achieve that. So I try to have fun with them. I think I've said this example before. Like one of the common ones is why'd you double that soft 18? There's a great one. A misplayed hand a lot by plops. You took the dealer's 10 card and they made 21, blah, blah, blah. I make sure that the next round that I see when I deviate and do something they don't like, or maybe it's basic strategy and they don't know basic strategy, and they win as a result of my playing, I make sure I say, man, it's a good thing I did that. You just won because of me. And I laugh and I wink, whatever, that stuff like that. That's how. What about you? You're a calmer demeanor than me.
Yeah, usually if the player is giving me a hard time, it's pretty likely they're also going to be giving the dealer a hard time at some point. So I like to play into that and kind of be on the dealer's side a lot. Like I like to point out when that person is being a dick to the dealer to sort of emphasize, you want me here. You don't want him here.
Yeah.
And also it's just sort of like I get annoyed at gamblers who treat the staff poorly because you chose to sit here and you chose to lash out at the dealer for something that's totally out of their control. I don't like when people do that. I have lost my cool maybe once or twice with a player for whatever reason. I think just stress just builds up over time. I'm just so sick of hearing their shit.
Why don't you share that story, Joe? Share one of those stories with us. What'd you do?
I think it was just this guy. This guy was really, he was just had his whole theory about my playing decisions and the math of blackjack and everything, and how everything that I was doing was just the wrong way to play. And it really was tested me, and it took me so much to restrain myself from being like, this is how I've made my income for years by doing it. But then when you say that kind of stuff, they're not going to believe you anyway. It's just, unless you like whip out your chart and your log and your surveillance photos or something.
What did Sassy do? Didn't she she was being criticized by another player so horribly, and then at the end of her trip, she wrote a note, and it basically was like her podcast on Gambling with an Edge and then BJA, and said something like, P.S. I'm a professional blackjack player. Or something like that, because she was leaving anyway.
Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't have found that person to see what they thought of if they ever listened to it. If you ended up being that person and you joined BJA, drop us a line and let us know, and we'd like to hear your comment.
That would be amazing.
What about when the dealers are giving you a hard time?
Yeah, dealers. I mean, the only experience I've had from salty dealers is around one issue, your favorite issue, tipping. If they're hardcore toe hustlers or they just feel very entitled to your money. But for the most part, I really find that being a pleasant person, a fun person, an engaging person at the table with the dealer really makes it nice at said table. Dealers really do, to your point earlier, I don't like when they get abused either. Dealers have to deal with that a lot. So I like to combat that. I like them to be on my side. But one specific example would be when they're toe hustling, they throw you a blackjack with a big bet out, or maybe a couple blackjacks, or you win a big double down or something like that. And they like to say something like, boy, dealer really helped you out there. At that point, I don't like when dealers do that. It really bothers me. So one line I have used, and I'm not recommending this, because again, you should want the dealer on your side, but this person is never going to be on your side most likely because you're not tipping if you're smart. I like to say, oh, listen, I completely understand you don't control the cards at all. And when I get my ass handed to me, I know it's not your fault. Just like I know when you give me good cards, it's not your fault. I've used that a couple times with those dealers, but I think personally, the best advice is to just not make a big deal out of them saying stuff, like laugh at it, pretend you didn't hear them, whatever. But sometimes it's really hard if they are a hardcore toe hustler. And I can't wait to hear your response on this because of your feelings about toe hustlers.
I've talked about toe hustling at length here, but I'll keep this short. I mean, there was a few times when I've had some dealers be pretty pissed at me, especially the places where they keep their own. I think that more than any time, for sure. And this guy stopped bringing his toke box over to my table, and then he got reprimanded by the manager. It was like, hey, you can't leave your toke box in the pit. And then he just kept saying, like, why do I have to bring my tote box over to that guy? He's not going to tip me anyway. Just openly saying it to everyone. And then at that point, I was just like, all right, I've lost it with this guy. I'm not going to be able to win him over. It's with both just being nice or whatever. So I would just try to make him laugh at that point for the rest of the session. And then he was telling a story about how he was trying to remember the name of a casino in Southern California. And then so I was like Pachanga, Tachi, Pala, Thunder, Fantasy Springs, Grayton, Agua Caliente, Shumash. And then I listed every single casino I've been to in Southern California. And then he started laughing finally it was the first smile or laugh he had the whole time, because he was just like, all right, I know you're professional. I know you're here playing, counting cards. He at least broke there. So I was able to break him. And after that point, he was less grumpy. So that was nice. But yeah, just try to be low maintenance player, polite is kind of all you can do. I mean, yeah, every once in a while you want to just get on your soapbox and talk about corporate greed and how they're responsible for paying their employees when they're ripping off their customers and everything. But I mean, it's not going to help most of the time.
Nope. None of the time. Actually, it's not going to do anything for you. What is a shot taker or taking a shot in casino lingo?
As far as I know, taking a shot, being a shot taker is one of these people who, let's say you waved off your hand, you lost, and then you call the pit manager over, you say, I didn't wave off that hand, like I wanted to hit that hand, or you try to reverse whatever just happened after the fact.
Well, yeah. Like in that particular scenario, I would say that the shot taker would give like a half-ass signal that could be possibly interpreted as both. And then they put a big bet out and then do a particular one and say the dealer just interpreted it and that's what they're hoping for, and not the dealer qualifying, like, give me a stern signal. And then they do exactly what you said. Casinos do not like shot takers at all. So that draws attention to you if you look like one. That's why, what's an example? Insurance. So people betting more than what the insurance bet actually is. And then obviously you get paid out more, 2-to-1.
That's a good example.
That would be taking a shot. It would draw a lot of attention to you if they catch it, and then that would make them more pissed.
What do you think of this example where you split tens and then, you get the 10 again. So now you have 4 hands of 20. The dealer has like a 6 up or something. You don't give the signal, but then they just blow by you and then they play out their hand. You lose. And then you say, hey, I wanted to split that again, but you didn't let me. Technically, you didn't give a signal. They did blow past you. Is that too much for you? Is that too much heat for you? Or is that taking a shot in your eyes?
I mean, in that particular example, I'd say splitting tens that there's already heat coming when you're doing that to begin with. So I would say if they did, I mean, it is their job I don't consider that shot taking. If they didn't give you the time, then that's an issue. I've stopped people for too quick of insurance that like they totally half-assed it. By the way, every time like I've stopped and said, hey, I wanted to take insurance or I wanted to double that or whatever, I have lost. When the pit boss rules for me, and it was I was in a shop in California, funny enough, and this dealer, she hated me. And no matter what I did to try to get her on my side, she just hated me. And it really kicked up when she just half-assed the insurance, like brushed her finger one way and completely just slid it under to check. And I had them review it. And they didn't even review it. The pit boss was like, let them have insurance. So then, of course, she smugly looks at me after she checks and goes, nope, and just takes the money. I was like, ugh.
What about this move? The one where you do, like you're playing 3 spots max, and then the insurance comes up and you put the insurance bet in the middle of the 2 spots, and then you put the same amount in the middle of the other 2, even though it's only 3 hands. So you have an extra amount, you have an extra half on it. Do you think that's a shot if they don't notice?
I think that is technically taking a shot. Yeah, I do. I'm not saying if you pull stuff like that and it works out for you that you're some evil bad person, but I define that as taking a shot. We play by the rules, and nobody knows the rules better than us. So like you know what you're supposed to be betting. Bet that. That's my advice.
I hear the advice to break up cash outs into smaller chunks to avoid giving ID. Couldn't this be considered structuring? So it's the old structuring debate. What's the official, non-lawyer, but official answer for you?
Yeah, not a lawyer, not legal advice from either one of us. So listen, you're not doing anything nefarious. You're not doing anything illegal. You're allowed to cash out as much as you want, when you want. That's just the facts about it. I think it's very different to break up cash outs to avoid ID at a casino than depositing broken up monies at a bank to avoid specifically getting a CTR. That is 100% structuring. At a casino, let's just break this down. We're playing with fun coupons, fun chips. Like, it's your leisure. just like tokens or whatever at a carnival. Like, like I'm sorry, it's the same thing to me. So as long as you're not doing anything illegal or nefarious, that's what I say. It is not structuring. Now, could somebody report you and say that they believe you are structuring? Yeah, sometimes casinos are real dickheads and they will SAR you, suspicious activity report, just to be a-holes, to be honest. So could it happen? Yeah, they could.
Why is the distinction, like when you said the bank thing, if you're not doing it for an illegal purpose, why do they consider it different?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because you literally are avoiding identification at a financial institution like a bank. If they catch on to it, they are 100% going to report you. And some might argue, well, a casino essentially is a de facto financial organization, which you're not wrong when you say that. They can loan money. They exchange a lot of money at a teller window. I can just tell you my experience working at a bank. They catch that, you're definitely getting reported and you're going to have some explaining to do. The best situation you can be in is to have CTRs everywhere. So that way, like if you are confronted, like what you're structuring, you're avoiding it. No, I'm not. Here's 30 CTRs that I've had. Go ahead and check. I don't care about CTRing. Like that's not a big deal to me. Why would I care about that? And then good luck with them making a case in court. He was trying to avoid a CTR. Well, then why does he have 30 CTRs this year? Makes no sense. Do you use more cover when playing during the daytime, Monday through Friday, since the casino is less crowded, and treat this with an optimizing approach? Or do you take advantage of the casino being slower with more potential heads up time and maximize the opportunity?
I don't really do any cover, but if I ever did something that was considered in the cover realm, it wouldn't really matter to me as much how busy it was. It's kind of more of like a one-on-one interaction with whoever is in the pit and how close they're paying attention because, well, I never do anything based on what I think the surveillance is looking at or not looking at. It's just impossible to determine. But if I have like the main pit person and now I have a secondary person who came out of nowhere, crossing his arms, staring at the table, watching me play, if I were to do any type of cover, that's when I would do it.
Yeah.
Not looking at how busy it is, or do you have a different approach?
I mean, I don't use a lot of what I consider cover, but probably a little bit more than you have in your career. I think it's a dangerous game to try to assume when you're being watched or that something you're doing is going to somehow throw them off. Perfect example. I think I've shared this a couple times. I played the Golden Gate downtown in Vegas for about 3 hours, and the rodeo was in town. I was in their high limit rail, as I call it. There's like 2 or 3 tables up behind like the wooden step up or whatever. You get a good view of the dealers doing their pole dances. But like there's basically a pit boss or two loitering and like over you the whole time and interacting with you, whatever. So I play with this pro bull rider, and they just kept talking about him. Apparently he's a big D-gen, but a really good bull rider. But when he left, I didn't realize how late it was. You know, I'm playing, and in that last hour is when I stopped and looked at the pit boss, and I laughed, and I said, I think I have a gambling problem. And he's like, whoa, what do you mean? And I said, well, I'm the only one in this entire casino right now playing. And he turned around. I mean, there was nobody in there, just me, in their high limit room, nobody else for surveillance to watch. And I played a whole nother hour, and I never got a back off. And that's in Vegas. So don't assume and cost yourself money because you're just assuming all these grandiose things or how smart surveillance is or how smart the pit is. Now, you might get backed off real quick when it's real slow because they have nothing to do and there are sharp people, but that's not an absolute.
We'll end on this question. What is the most amount of time you have ever gotten in a single shot playing double deck, and with what spread? The person also commented, my personal longest before Backoff is only 5 to 6 hours. Is this normal?
Is it normal, Joe?
Yeah, it's normal for double deck. That being said,
yeah, yep.
I think the longest I've gotten continuous on a double deck was, I just added it up on my records, is 59 hours in Wisconsin. It was a double deck game and it was crazy. I mean, I was going like 25 to 2 by 1,000 on the double deck and wonging in and out of, like, they had so many double deck tables everywhere. It was just like bouncing back and forth to like all over the place. And I think I lasted that long because of the very first couple shoes. I lost like 30,000 or something. I had a really bad beginning, and it was just. But I was able to claw back and came out positive after that 60 hours. So that was the longest for me. What about you?
I don't know the hours. I'd have to go back and look, but there's 2 distinct places that I played really good double deck games. And this is what I do know. I took a little above 100K from one before I was countermeasured. That'll give you a little hint because they're not allowed to back off. And so that was, I don't know, probably 10 plus trips. And I began spreading smaller, and I got up to 2 hands of 50 to 2 hands of 800. That's not actually technically true. I would also occasionally drop to 1 hand of 50. So technically my spread was 1 hand of 50 to 2 hands of 800. And then the other place that I never got backed off from, and I am still good at, I took over 120,000 from them. I just have not been back yet. And I'm still good there. And I double deck and spread up to 2 hands of 1,000. Same scenario. I played it a certain way with a lot of insider advice from a good friend of ours, JC Rocks. And by the end of it was just like, I just want to see how much I can push this, and never got backed off. So I could still go back there. But with their new ownership, I'm guessing that would not last long. That was an older situation, but you never know.
You never know. That's the whole point, is you never know. You got to try.
Yeah, got to try. But the 5 to 6 hours, I mean, generally speaking, I agree with Joe. That is not uncommon. Actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you, everyone, for submitting your questions through the Blackjack Apprenticeship YouTube community channel, also through the forum. Keep them coming. We love having all these questions, and we'll try to make some more Q&A podcasts. And until then, if you want to learn more about card counting, you can visit blackjackapprenticeship.com and then the YouTube channel.